The third day of the draft for the Chargers made me feel a lot of emotions.
Derius Davis.
Oh, the second TCU wide receiver. We need that speed. Let's go.
Matlock, defensive tackle, Boise
Okay.
State.
I have no idea who that is, but we need D-line depth, so that's good.
Max Duggan.
What?
For the Chargers.
So now that the dust is settled and the draft is officially over, we can talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly from day 3 of this draft. And what some people would argue is the most important day of the draft, because this is where you build the depth on your team. Now, day 3 started out with Derius Davis in the 4th round, but I already made a full video on him alone, so you can check that one out after this one. So let's start out with the 5th round, where we took Jordan McFadden, the guard out of Clemson. Now, Jordan McFadden was a very highly rated player coming out of high school in South Carolina, and he was actually the South Carolina Lineman of the Year after his senior season. At Clemson, he played left tackle this past season, and he was voted as a team captain and earned the Jacobs Blocking Trophy, which is the best blocker in the ACC, and also was put on the first team All-ACC team from the AP. He is so quick off of the snap, and pretty often he's the first one out of his stance. He has some real tenacity, which is exactly what you want in your big dogs up front. His hands are explosive, and when he gets a hold of you in the run game, it is typically good night for the defenders. He can get to the second level and get out in space pretty well for an offensive lineman that isn't really athletic, and that tells me that he is hungry to go out there and just block someone straight into the turf. He is great at sealing off the edge, and this is the kind of offensive lineman that you want to run behind for sure. He's really good at fooling defenders into going the wrong direction, which is not something that I see very often, and when he does get the defender into a bad position, he is so quick to punish them for it, and he does it both in the run game as well as the passing game. So he's got a high football IQ. This is a high effort guy. I'm liking this pick so far. Now, where he does struggle a bit, his feet are a bit choppy in the pass set, and sometimes he can get pushed off balance because the defender strikes him before he can anchor himself. Also, sometimes in his pass set, he commits too much to the outside and he allows the edge defender a free lane to the inside, which a good edge player in the NFL is going to take that every single time. Jordan McFadden isn't going to be a tackle in the NFL though, because of his height and his footwork, so his struggles in pass protection can be mostly nullified just by playing as a guard. And the Chargers definitely have a type when it comes to offensive linemen. I mean, Jordan McFadden, Rashawn Slater, Jamari Sawyer, all of these guys have a pretty similar build, and I think they're all going to be solid in the NFL for like the next decade. Yeah, this pick is going to get an A+ from me. Okay, now on to the 6th round, where we took Scott Matlock. Scott Matlock was a 3-year starter and also a team captain this past season. Over these past 3 years, he had 11.5 sacks, 2 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, 112 tackles, and 19 tackles for loss. And this is a great stat right here from Tyler Schoon. Make sure to follow him on Twitter if you don't already. 29 run blocking snaps and 25 run stops this past season. That is insane. And that just goes to show his mindset on the field. He is so tenacious and mean. I mean, just listen to the way he talks.
I mean, they're going to get a straight up killer. I mean, when I put the helmet on, it's a gladiator going into the Coliseum, you know. So I'm coming for souls. I mean, I'm gonna take a grown man's job. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna help them win some football games. And shout out to David Moa and I. We're gonna tear some shit up.
This guy is a high effort player, and he has a high motor as well, while also being a really good athlete for an interior defensive lineman. In fact, he is such a good athlete that Boise State drew up a play for him on offense, and he caught a touchdown this year. I'm sure Kellen Moore, the Boise State legend, is going to keep that play in mind. Now let's talk about some negatives. He does struggle with consistency, as he can go on a hot streak and then a cold streak at times. He's kind of slow to get free from the blocker's grasps, and he gets knocked around in the middle of the field pretty often, and he projects best to play more of a 5-tech than a 3-tech, so closer to the tackle rather than on the inside playing up against the center or the guards, because he's just going to get washed. Now, if you don't know his story, Scott Matlock lost both of his parents before high school. He grew up in foster care, and him being drafted into the NFL is a huge accomplishment. And this is the kind of guy that it's just so easy to root for. And right now he's getting a lot of Morgan Fox comparisons, but he reminds me of Derek Wolfe because of his attitude, mean streak, and his upbringing. Because if you didn't know, Derek Wolfe didn't have a good relationship with his parents either, and he was moving around from house to house, living with friends and stuff ever since middle school. They are similar on and off the field. Tough guys through and through, and best case scenario in my mind is Scott Matlock has a similar career to Derek Wolfe. This is exactly the kind of guy that you want to take a flyer on in the 6th round, and there's not really a ton of tape on him, so I haven't seen as much as I would like to make a full analysis of him, but I would still give this like a B plus just based off what I know right now, which is much better than my next grade, because in the 7th round we drafted Max Duggan. What the fuck? Okay, here's the good news. He's a tough guy, blue collar, and he almost won the Heisman Trophy last year. And if you don't know, he was the quarterback at TCU since 2018, and then in 2022 TCU hired a new coach that was going to play a different quarterback. Max Duggan decided to stay, and he began as the backup quarterback, but then in week 2 everything changed because there was an injury. He took the starting job, and then he took TCU all the way to the national championship, where they he ran an RPO offense with quick reads and some opportunities to throw the ball vertically from time to time, which he was more than willing to do, because quite often he did give his receivers the chance to just go up and make a play. He's a scrappy guy, kind of like Baker Mayfield, and he had some big runs at TCU, so he needs to be accounted for as a runner as well. Problem is, he stares down his receivers too much. He doesn't read defenses very well, doesn't deal with pressure very well either. I mean, this is just, to me, the definition of a football playing Jesse that Brandon Staley always talks about. He's not incredibly talented, but my God, he just works so hard, and I love him as a person. There just isn't really a good reason to spend a draft pick on him if you're the Chargers, in my opinion. I mean, if he was signed as an undrafted free agent, I would still be confused, but I wouldn't really think twice about it. I mean, the Chargers went out of their way to secure him on their roster because they saw potential in him, and to be honest, this is the exact kind of guy that you would want as your backup quarterback. He's mentally tough. He is loyal. He is a hard worker, and oh my gosh, am I talking myself into this pick? You know what? It's just a 7th round pick. And if they liked him so much to the point where they felt that they needed to pick him rather than wait until undrafted free agency, then I trust their judgment. And then who knows? What if Herbert gets injured in week 2 and then Max Duggan comes in, is the starting quarterback, takes us to the Super Bowl, finishes 2nd in MVP voting, and then we lose 65-7. I'm going to give this pick an F. A WTF, because I don't really understand what's going on right now. I mean, at the end of the day, this is just a 7th round pick, so if he just secures the backup quarterback role and he is a decent backup quarterback, it's well worth it, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think, and also let me know what you guys think of Derius Davis right here. If you haven't seen that video, you can go ahead and click that right there and check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to smash like, subscribe to this video, and yeah, go ahead and click here if you haven't seen that video. Bye.